Morning, y'all. We're going to talk about some books today, 10 of them that changed the way I view the entire world, basically. These are ones I read over the last 5 years. I'd say, a lot of these come from a place of love, in a sense that books are a cheat code for life. Like, I really don't know how to put it any better than that. And just over and over, I continue to find that whatever situation I'm going through in life, there's always a book out there that will help you through it. That could be for business, it could be for relationships, it could be for anything you're going through. So we'll get right into it. Number one, Seneca Letters from a Stoic. I think these aren't really in any order, but I think this probably has to be number one. Um, the others, not so much. But I think this book is the most complete guide to life that I can think of. I've read this so many times that there's other books where I find myself quoting the author a lot. Now I'm at the point where I don't even find myself quoting Seneca anymore. I've just read this so many times that it's become uh, embedded in not even the operating system, not even Windows 11. Like it's in the pre-boot sequence. And so I can't recommend this enough. I send copies of this to buddies all the time. This version is actually the wrong version. Now to think about the wrong translation. And they did my man dirty on the cover. Like he's definitely a better looking dude than that. And so there's this one's translated by Robin Campbell. There's another one. This isn't the right one. This is the first one that I found on Amazon, but there's another version. I'll put together a list and post it wherever I post this video. But I would definitely say everyone should have a copy of this or be familiar with it. And the only thing that I would add is that it's funny. I want to say everyone should get a copy of this when they turn 21. But the tricky thing about life is that, at 21, I don't know if it would have stuck with me enough. I don't know if it would have resonated. Like at 31, I don't know if it would have resonated. I'm 38 now. I think a lot of it has finally sunk in. But what's tricky with the really great books is that you have to have gone through enough life. You have to have experienced enough life, like the ups and the downs, I guess, in order to really appreciate what's written here. So with that said, I would definitely no hesitation recommending this to everyone. Number two, Pascal, Pensées. This one, so this is tricky because this for me changed my worldview. Would I recommend it to everyone? I'm not sure, but I gotta keep it real with the video. It's not the 10 most highly recommended books that you Google, and that's exactly what comes up. Because then, who cares? There's no point in making the video. I'll just send you a list of what consensus has to say. But this book in particular has made a huge impact on the way I think. Um, the book overall is pretty spiritual, pretty religious in its entirety. That's not why I'm recommending it. I would say if you're kind of going down that path to begin with, you'll get extra out of it. But why I really recommend it is the second chapter and the third chapter. And so the first chapter, you open it and you realize pretty quickly pensée means thoughts. And so it's kind of a difficult book to read, very scattered. I actually don't know if he meant for this to be published. I could probably check that pretty quick. I probably should have known that. But you're kind of reading it. If you in the event that you buy this, you'll be reading it, you'll be like, the fuck, man? Why did Greg recommend that I buy this book? This makes no sense. This was written in French for over 400 years ago. Um, about 400 years ago. But the second chapter is called The Misery of Man Without God. It's actually not really about God, it's about human nature. And especially, I remember the first half of the chapter not really getting much out of it, but he starts getting into, like, I guess the truth of this world is kind of the best way I can put it. And how man goes back and forth between pain and boredom, um, and how averse humans are to the truth, and kind of just all these really eye-opening examinations where you kind of just stop. You're like, oh fuck, because he's definitely a little bit of a pessimist. A little bit, he's definitely a pessimist, definitely a cynic to a large degree. But I think as you read it, some of the most famous quotes. I think everyone's familiar with the quote by him where he says, "All of man's misery stems from his inability to sit in a quiet room alone." That's a banger, and that's from the second chapter of this book. And so he has a whole lot of things like that in there where you just kind of sit there and you're like, God damn, this man hit it on the head. And then the third chapter is probably the most famous thing that Pascal ever wrote. It's Pascal's Wager, where he talks about the risk reward of believing in God, whether to believe in God or not. And that too, I think some people are familiar with it, some aren't. But I would say those two chapters alone make this worth reading. The other chapters, if you get anything out of it, great. But did this book change my worldview? Absolutely. So it has to be in here. That's number two. Number three, Plutarch. This, once again, similar to Seneca, this is the wrong the wrong version, the wrong translation. The book is called Moralia, Plutarch Moralia. That's the one, and this is kind of like the problem with the Seneca translation and with this translation is they try to modernize it too much. And it becomes like, I guess, more readable in English. But you're reading it, if you've read multiple translations, you're reading it and you're like, bro, there's no fucking way that's what the guy was trying to say. Like, don't be so flowery with the language. So again, I'll post like the right version. I'm not going to steer you guys wrong with the translations. Like, I'll get you whatever the kind of consensus version is, but this ain't it. But so Plutarch is mostly known. His main book is called Lives of like the great Greeks, great Romans, and he does really good comparisons back and forth between pretty much every Greek and Roman hero, emperor, conqueror, tyrant that you can think of. Moralia is less known, and I actually found it through Montaigne, who we'll talk about in a bit. But like he addresses a whole bunch of topics in Moralia in like an incredible like stuff that like I really haven't even seen covered in more um, modern writings. Like I think one of the ones that stays with me is a topic. There's a chapter like why is God so slow to punish man for his wrongdoings? And he goes into these really like philosophical back and forths about like whether it's better for punishment to arrive immediately after the crime or whether there's reasons why the gods. And he talks about the gods because it's back in that era where there was an entire slew of gods, more like a pagan approach. Um, but like he has all these really good philosophical kind of debates back and forth where it opens your eyes. And he still talks about some of the legendary Greeks and Romans in here in a way that like opens your eyes. But I would say especially he's just an incredibly talented writer, like really good at using similes and metaphors to make his point in a way where it's just like so simple that it sticks with you. So I would say it's a really good writer too. Like Lives, I would recommend, but I'll be honest, like Moralia is one that I find myself reading over and over and over. Lives is like entertaining. It's the book that you read about how Napoleon took it on his journeys, and like pretty much every great hero took it on their journeys. Assuming you think Napoleon's a hero, not a criminal, which who knows. But Moralia is the one that I find myself going back to over and over. So highly recommended. Again, I'll put the link to the right one because this ain't the right one. Number four, James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. This I think is kind of a non-consensus pick. First off, look how skinny this book is. I think it's like 40 pages. Um, but this book absolutely had a huge impact on the way that I think about the world. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Um, it was recommended to me by someone who I'm not, a lot of times their book recommendations are a little shaky. And so it's very hard against something that Montaigne talks about, where he talks about how we allow ourselves to be prejudged. We allow things that are recommended to us to be prejudged by like who they came from. And so I really try to stay away from that and just be cognizant of how my processing is, I guess, for lack of a better word. But this book, I read it once, I put it down, I was like, I don't remember, I'm gonna fuck this book. And then good books have a way of like 2 or 3 days later, when you're just doing something completely random, pops back in your head. Like, oh fuck, man, I'm thinking about that James Allen book. And I went back, I read it again, and really, it made its way into my mind. I think this was written in 1907. I think this gets like the due the due that it deserves as being like a classic book, but I'm not sure. Again, like all these books, I didn't even sit down and Google and be like, oh, how do people think of this one? Because again, I think that ruins kind of the authenticity, I guess, of any book recommendation video. Like in the event that you write up a bunch of books you liked or you do a video or some shit, like don't check what everyone else thinks. Like I don't care about that. I want to hear what you think. And because then that's how you have a real reason as to why this book meant so much to you. As opposed to like, oh, like it's a classic, everyone else likes it. Because that's not real. That doesn't do anything for the listener. So this book, the main thing in here, the main message, I think, is your thoughts become your habits, and your habits become your reality. And like once you kind of once you kind of internalize that, you realize how true it is. And really what happened is I ended up like keeping this on my nightstand, almost like a Bible for like months. Because what I would do is I would wake up and a lot of mornings I'd be like angry or, down. You know how it is like in the mornings. There's always, you never feel good in the morning. You always have some kind of negative thought patterns going on. Like you think about all the shit you have to do that day. Um, Whatever it is you're going through, for some reason, like in the event that you have tough mornings, like everyone has tough mornings, it's another thing you learn from reading all these old books is that um, every language, whether it's like Latin, Greek, whatever, they all have some specific word for like morning blues. So if you wake up in the mornings, like you're not depressed, you're just normal. If you stay down all day, maybe you're depressed. I don't know. I'm not the right guy to diagnose you with any of that. But anyway, so I would kind of wake up, and even when I had bad negative thought patterns going on, I would read this, and even just that one little message, it would remind me of like, hey man, like get your thoughts under control because you can. A lot of the Stoics would talk about like the weather of your mind, and so you kind of even just being cognizant, like what is the weather of my mind right now? Is it stormy? Is it sunny? Like where am I at? And so then like being able to kind of I write about like stop losses a lot, right? Being able to kind of stop yourself out when you find yourself in like a negative or stormy thought pattern. You're like, oh fuck, like my thoughts are going to become my habits. My habits are going to become my circumstances. And so kind of just being able to re-engineer your mind, I guess, in a way where at least you're trying to focus your thoughts towards like positive outcomes and like optimism and believing in the best in people and all of that. And so that's why this book meant so much to me. I would actually really recommend it. Even if you're a fan of good writing, this is really poetry. This book is meant to be read by like poetry in a sense, because his writing is that's why it went over my head the first time. Because I think I read it like I would read like some stupid shit on Twitter and not really paying attention to like how beautiful the prose is. And so um, some of the other books, would I 100% recommend them? I don't know. This one I would. I think like it's worth your time. I think what'll happen to you is probably similar to what happened to me, where you read it, you're like, fucking Greg recommended me this dog shit book. But then it comes back, man. Like it'll pop into your head. You'd be like, fuck. There's a lot of other shit in here that's really good, but I just wanted to convey the main message about your thoughts becoming your habits becoming your reality. So James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, great book. Next, Baltasar Gracian, The Art of Worldly Wisdom. This is a dangerous fucking book, man. Really, really good. Well, I mean, maybe this should have been my second favorite of all time. Again, look how skinny this one is. Not much here. This is a book of maxims. This was written, let me see, probably 1637. So again, about 400 years ago. This is a book of, I forget how many maxims are in here. What makes this book amazing is like, I almost want to say it's a little bit Machiavellian, which like, if you don't know anything about Machiavelli, you take that as being like, oh, that's evil or like manipulative or whatever. But it's not, bro. It's like a lot of the shit, or like La Rochefoucauld, like a lot of these guys, once you read them, it has to do with like the darker side of humanity, of man, like of what lurks in us that we don't really want to, that we don't want to talk about. And so this is a book for navigating the malice of men. Like I would almost say like this book is game. That's why I say it's dangerous because like you gotta like there's shit in here about how to use your enemies to your advantage. That's the kind of thing that like or how to use criticism in a way that that makes you a better person, I guess. And so like it's almost like a book for like I think they would say statesmanship, I guess, however you want to call it. But it's an amazing, amazing book. I don't know if there's much more I can really say about it other than kind of like the James Allen book. Like you don't really have much to lose. It's not that expensive. It's not that big. You'll read it, and I think you'll recognize like, oh shit, like these maxims. There's a lot of power in here. So great book. It's a weapon. Use it carefully. Um, but then change the way I view the world. Absolutely, I've got a lot of use out of this book. Next, number six, I think, Lord Chesterfield's Letters. This is actually fairly recent, but as I was reading it, I was like, this is, I wasn't sure what to recommend. I wasn't sure what to expect from it. Same thing. This was written probably 300 years ago. It's actually letters to his son. And what's amazing, I just have to laugh at it, is like Lord Chesterfield. He seems like a great man. The advice in here is absolutely good. I think a lot of it kind of is what you'd expect about how to like navigate your way through society, um, how to behave as like a member of the upper class, I suppose. But what's amazing, and you see this throughout history, is that the son turned out to be like a nobody. Like, and it kind of just shows you the futility of as much as man tries to sculpt his son to be in his image, it ends up being fruitless over and over. Like the one truth of history is that short sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. And so would I like give this to my son as a book and be like, here, make this into who you are? No, I wouldn't. Because there's some stuff in here that's like a little dated. There's stuff in here that's like straight up misogynistic by today's standards. And so, but I think to you, assuming you're like in your 30s or 40s or whatever, as you're trying to think through um, your own worldview, your own morals, your own ethics, your own things that you would, once you reach an age where you feel comfortable kind of providing advice to the next generation, I would definitely read this. It's pretty long, like it's longer than it looks. A lot of it's pretty thick. And what's funny is he references a lot of these same old books. Like that's how you know you're on the right path with the books you're reading. Because if you see like Chesterfield referencing Pascal and Pascal is referencing Seneca, then you're like, all right, like I found the chain of command. I found a train of thought for the great thinkers that keep referencing each other over and over. And as you get deeper and deeper into these older books, you'll see that it's the same titles that come up over and over, and you'll realize that there's really no point in reading anything new because everything new has is just repeating what has been said, whether it's intentional, whether it's plagiarism, or whether they're unaware of that they're saying something that was already said by Seneca, already said by Plutarch, already in the Bible. So I'm not really sure if I have anything more to say on this book, but I enjoyed it. It's worth your time, better than whatever else you're reading right now. Lord Chesterfield's letters. Next, Michel de Montaigne, the essays. This, I'm actually not sure how much I have to say that I didn't really already say about Seneca. This is an amazing book. This was actually written in, I think, the 1500s. As far as translation, this is the correct translation. It's by someone named J.M. Cohen. Again, I'll put up the right one. But the translation is very important here because I think there's 3 major translations. There's one by a guy named Frame. And I bring this up because I remember trying to read this a long time ago. I think most people know about the book, but I tried reading it a long time ago. I couldn't get into it. And I don't think it was age related. I think it's a translation. This translation really stuck with me. And I've gone back and tried to read the translation that I didn't like before. And like it would almost, I could see myself not finishing the book. That's how important the translation is. This one does a really good job straddling, you know, like on one hand, there's you want to have fidelity to what the author wrote, and on the other hand, you want to modernize it and sometimes because the way people wrote in the 16th century can be difficult to read today. But this translation by J.M. Cohen, they nailed it. Like a lot of what is written here hits home in terms of what he writes about, kind of everything. Like he references Seneca and Plutarch all the time. Like I said, I think I got into Plutarch because of this book. And so, but he covers every topic, like, and he's just all over the place, man. He covers like education of our children, talks about cannibalism, like talks about the power of the imagination. But it's really, I think, what makes this book a classic, and this is definitely a classic no matter who you ask, is the way he writes is so humble and self-effacing, and he talks about himself with such candor, I guess is the way to say it, that you almost like fall in love with him in a sense, and you're kind of just like, damn, this is my friend. He's giving me like straight up really good advice. So again, pretty thick book, but I've read this one so many times. That's why it reminds me of Seneca, where I find myself quoting him, but at the same time, a lot of it has just become embedded in my way of operating. So that's how I know it's a really great book. This I would wholeheartedly recommend. I would move it. I probably should have made this number 2 or number 3, but it is what it is. Montaigne, essays. All right, next we're going to start getting into the thicker stuff. Number 7, History of Western Philosophy by Bertrand Russell. This is a thick fucking book, probably 800 pages. And before I get into anything philosophy related, like I have to make a disclaimer in a sense that there is, and I'm not like a philosopher. I'd say I've been deep in it for about 4 years now. Um, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. And it's been like I've been pretty um I don't know about aggressive is the word, but like I've really, really put in the time and I've gotten really, it's changed the way I view the world. That's why some of these are here. But what I would say to you is that there is no little bit of philosophy. You can't just read, snippets or whatever and think that you're going to understand how some of these great thinkers think. This book really is a compendium of all time, all the great philosophers, starting from, Starts from the pre-Socratics, like goes through Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, covers all the guys you've ever heard of from like the modern era. Um, and what makes this a great book is that it's Bertrand Russell's tone. He's a really, really good writer. He breaks down these thinkers and compares them to one another. I think he does it in about as simple language, about as simple as the language can possibly get. And I say that in the sense that, like, even as you're reading this, and look, like I said, I've been reading this for a long time. I've read this book probably 3 or 4 times. I still don't get a lot of shit in here. And like, I'm not smart, but I'm not slow. Like, I should really be able to grasp what a lot of these guys are thinking. But especially a lot of the stuff with like metaphysics, where you have all these different proofs of God, the cosmological proofs of God, the ontological proofs of God. A lot of that stuff, like, there's other great thinkers who would be like, all that stuff's a jerk off. Like, who cares? Nothing's really getting done by any of that. But the reason why to read a lot of these thinkers, especially at least from my perspective, is for their insights on human nature. And so I think I actually did kind of go online and see what the reviews of this book were. The one knock that they say is that a lot of it is Bertrand Russell's opinion. But like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm trying to learn. Bertrand Russell's an expert. He's a philosopher himself. He's clearly a student. I think this is probably regarded as one of the, if not the history of Western philosophy, just as he says. But like, I'm cool with, like, give me your opinion. I'm cool with you giving me your opinion. I'll go read other books and get someone else's opinion. And eventually I'll have read enough where I can take all these opinions and say, all right, I agree with this guy's opinion. Or like, because really what with a lot of the thinkers in here, again, like let's say it's Aristotle, like people have different opinions on what he wrote. Is there any absolute truth to any of it? Like, not really. Like, as time goes on and history goes on, things become invalidated, or like social norms and customs change, and things that were written back then seem archaic. Um, but I would say, especially for understanding some of the guys like a Nietzsche, or like Schopenhauer, there's a lot of he does a really good job weaving in also like the biography of each man, or each thinker, I should say, in a way that helps you understand both their worldview and kind of the circumstances in their life that help them get to that worldview. So I'm going to hesitantly recommend this, because I've recommended it to people before and they've been like, dude, like, why did you recommend this to me? This book is so fucking thick. I don't understand any of it. So that's why with anything philosophy, like, I'm very cautious. But I would say, if you are someone who really, really wants to get into philosophy and is ready to put in the time, this should be on your bookshelf. Otherwise, like, you can skip it, and the other stuff I read will take you farther. Next, by the same token, um, we have Schopenhauer, The World as Will and Representation. This is volume 2. I have volume 1 on my bookshelf somewhere. Kind of a lot of the same stuff I said, it like applies for this one. Um, this is the book that got me into philosophy, which is why it's on this list. Top 10 books that changed my worldview. Um, and so, like, I would absolutely recommend it if you're willing to put in the time. But same thing, like, if you pick this up and it's not what you expected, then, sorry, I'm not sorry, I guess. This is an amazing, amazing book. Same thing, reminds me of Pascal a little bit. I think Pascal definitely influenced his thinking. He referenced the amount of references that this book has, like, leads me to believe this man is nothing but a genius. Like, he goes back to like Hinduism, like Christianity, Judaism. He covers like all the Greeks, all the Romans. He has this entire worldview that is so coherent, um, that you can't help but appreciate like what a polymath and what a thinker he is. Because he goes into like art, music, like beauty, animals. Um, and so I could say a lot more about this book, but I would kind of hesitantly recommend it. Again, it's 2 volumes. This one's 600 pages, the other one's 600 pages. I've read it probably 10 times, but like, again, that's what I mean by you have to put in the work with philosophy. Because what I would say about philosophy that's tricky is, you're not just going to read this once and understand it. With philosophy, the way I put it is that there's a lot of like loop-de-loops. You'll read this, 80% of it will go over your head. You'll put it down. You'll go read the Bertrand Russell book. Shit'll start to make sense. You'll go read some secondary material, meaning like books about Schopenhauer written in the modern day. You'll read something by Nietzsche, who basically everything he wrote was kind of influenced by Schopenhauer. And so then you start getting these alternate views on this man himself. Then you say, all right, I'm gonna go back and give this another shot. Go back and read it again. More shit starts to make sense. Now you understand 60% of it, or now you understand 60% of it instead of 20%. I'm not very good at math today. But that's kind of what I mean by if you're going to get into philosophy, like it's a long, long haul. So um, hesitantly recommend, but again, this book changed the way I view the world. That's why it's here. Last, I think we'll do. This is a history series. This is Will Durant, Story of Civilization. Um, this is an 11-part series, and each book is 800 to 1,000 pages. You can get an entire set on I think like any of these websites like Thrift Books or eBay or whatever. I think I got 10 of them for like 60. You can probably buy the whole set for like 100, 150 bucks used. That's worth it. Durant is just Will Durant and his wife, Ariel Durant. They spent their whole life doing these 11 books. And it covers the very first one, starts with, I think it's called Our Oriental Heritage. I have all of them sitting on my bookshelf over there. But it goes all the way from the ancient era. And the final one is the Age of Napoleon. And then the series ends. And so you don't have to read them in order. I picked this one. This is called The Age of Voltaire. This was the first one I read, I think. I don't know if it's the best one, but again, this one I actually went online. You can see some debate over which is the best in the entire series. Um, but this one in particular is amazing. He does a really good job of weaving together history, philosophy. Like, I guess in a sense, you start to realize that history and philosophy are one and the same. Um, and what as you go through these, I think this is probably the seventh one of the series. So I think I read 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now that I read 1, 2, now I'm on 3, which is I think it's called Caesar and Christ. And so I have to finish 4, 5, 6, and then I'll get done. That's taken me years, but it's absolutely one of the best like side quests that I've ever gone on. But this book in particular is almost like a biography of Voltaire. You also learn about him as a philosopher and all his contemporaries and everything that went on in the French Enlightenment, which was just like an amazing um, period of history. So Will Durant, Story of Civilization, would 100% recommend it. And that is all we have for today. I hope this was helpful. I would put a list up of all these books, like the correct translations, where you can get them. And happy reading. I hope this helped y'all. Have a great day.